Hello, I am Corey Miller, and this is Dr. Mark Christian, and we are on episode 8.
8, you keep counting.
I keep counting. It's like Count Dracula.
It's going to be 3,422.
It will, before we know it. Yes, Different Perspective podcast. We have been talking about Iran. Obviously, it's kind of the topic of the day, flavor of the month. And we've talked about the negotiations. We've talked about China as it relates to Iran. But what we wanted to talk about in this episode was the Iranian regime. I mean, the point was at the beginning was we want a regime change. And what does that mean? Why hasn't the regime fallen? We've dropped untold tons of bombs. We've dropped Moabs on them, the mother of all bombs.
Yeah.
All that kind of munition, the good stuff. We've given them the good stuff, the top shelf stuff. And they're still there. So why? And why haven't they gone away?
So here is the thing. I think let me back up very quickly. When we started our talk about Iran, we explained that the target was 3 things. Number 1 is to get the Kurds later on into Iran to be the foot soldiers to make things change. But before that, the United States will continue bombing 20,000 targets that they kind of named. And they say we're going to go after those. Those are the ballistic missiles sites, firing missiles, drones, all of the equipments so basically to disarm the Iranian regime from any capabilities whatsoever to have any kind of firepower. Okay, so this is what the biggest mission: 20,000 targets to get that done. Number 2 is to take out the head of the state, so the system will fall apart. Okay, and the regime will fall and everything will be good. And number 3 is to get the Kurds to come in. Well, the United States has been following through on the targets, and yet there is a little bit of disappointment there because obviously somehow, some way, Iran continue to stop and close the Strait of Hormuz. Also, they have been firing rockets that has been hitting actually their targets. Some of them even went after, behind all the scenes. But relatively, we have been very successful in that. But you know what happened in the other 2 points? We're not being successful whatsoever. The first one is killing Ayatollah Khomeini, the supreme leader of Iran, which is basically the religious leader and the political leader. This is the Pope plus the president in one thing. And the idea that killing the supreme leader will make the country fall. Well, that is always been the case. You kill Gaddafi, Libya's gone. You kill Saddam Hussein, the whole system, people run away. Assad flew to Russia, the whole Syria system fall apart. That's normally the case. Why it is not happening in Iran? I think we went into a wrong premise. I think the advice was not done right, because Iran from the get-go has been the system since 1979 was all about survival. They wanted to survive. Their first mission is to set the system in a way that will survive any kind of attacks on it.
Perpetuate any death that came along.
Just to survive in general. Okay, and the second thing is to expand. And this is whole idea of the Iraq War in the 80s and so forth. It is to expand into other Muslim countries. This is their main mission: survive one, to expand. This is the way it is. And how did they do that? They set the system and called the Mosaic system. Okay, basically, even though Ayatollah is the head of the system, and they created the system underneath by the military forces, it is kind of it's a pyramid scheme in a way. You have the guards; they are the top military. You're talking about around 200 to 300,000 soldiers. Those are the top military forces. Underneath that, active duty. You're talking about 700,000 of those. So you're talking about a million. And then you talk about the third level, reserve. Another 2 million, so they can continue feeding. If the guard's dead, then the active military will fill in. If the active military fill in, then the reserve will fill in. So you have 4 million, people who are ready to fight for this regime. And then how did this make that regime to function? They even function as independent units. They continue on their mission. It's like a group of people continue firing missiles no matter if they get a command or not. All what they need to know is there is still a supreme leader. Then the system in place, then they continue doing their duty. My mission, or like they say, this is my mission, I will continue doing my mission. Is my mission to keep this area under control, then they continue doing this, independent of from above. And if the person die, this is how to replace 4-6 layers to continue doing this. See how the system altogether is survival. How if A is dead, B will come in. If B is dead, C will come in. If D, and so forth, and they move and shuffle. So for this regime to die, you have to kill those 6 million, 4 million people actually out of existence. So yes, they have been very successful in assassinations, but there is always, somebody comes in. It might not be on the same level. So when we killed Soleimani, for example, it might not be replaced with the same kind of viciousness of Soleimani, but it has been replaced. And this means everybody underneath the system will continue the fight and the survival.
Because the mission is the same.
Because the mission is the same. Another thing they did in the Iranians, they kept the money, financials. A lot of people in this military system is in control of, in a fascist way, control of the means of finances in Iran. So this is why the fall of the country means that they will lose not only everything, but they lose also financial and stuff like that. So they are benefiting financially from the regime to be existence. So it's not only the Ayatollah is the one who is benefiting and he's the head, like Saddam Hussein, he's the one who has the castles. He's the one who has the kids with the best cars. He's the one who's having everything, and the rest, and the small group of people that is supporting him, and the rest of the soldiers are fighting and they are just getting the small crumbs. No, everybody is benefiting in that system.
As though they all have equity.
They all have equity.
They're all shareholders,
and they are all, and not only 1 or 2 people. You are talking about millions of people have benefiting. So this why the system is based on survival. Okay, and then when the War of June took place, when Israel and the United States
a year ago,
then immediately they start looking at actually perfecting the system, that the Mosaic system that they started in 79 even more. And this is why they're creating the system after another. Another thing is wrong information have been given in the United States, and I don't hear it in the news whatsoever. Okay, is basically Ayatollah Khomeini. He's an 86 years old who has cancer for almost 6-7 years.
This was the best possible outcome
for him. He's a martyr, died in his office. But another thing is Mujtaba, the one that is actually the supreme leader that we don't know where he's at. He has been in hiding for all of those years and has been running the system for all of those years. He's a de facto leader of Iran for quite some time. So killing Ayatollah, he was just a figure out there. It's like right now going after the king of Saudi Arabia. He is the king of Saudi Arabia, but he is doing absolutely nothing. Who runs the country? It
MBS.
is the MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince. Mujtaba has been the crown prince of Iran for quite some time. He's the one who's running everything because his dad is sick, he's old, he's not in public, he's not doing anything. But when Israel and the United States killed him, he became the martyr. It's the best outcome for him. So this is another wrong information. Because if you wanted to go about the head, at least go after Mujtaba, but
is
not
it
go.
Mujtaba?
Mujtaba.
I keep thinking about Mufasa.
I don't know what Mufasa means.
He's from Lion King.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think that's what his name is.
Mujtaba is the one that is right now is in the leadership of Iran. Huh?
Is he the gay one?
No, I don't think he's gay.
Well,
but the United States,
what they say.
The United States and Israel is doing everything to insult the guy
so
he can service. The whole thing is about it. They put $10 million on his head. They called him a coward. They called him that he's not there. They called him wounded. They called him everything, but he's not.
He's still sitting in his bunker somewhere.
There is another kind of credible thing. Actually, he's not even in Iran. He's actually in different countries. Yes. They made rumors about him. He has properties in England for millions of dollars. He might be there. They have been trying to search and see if he's there or not. Intelligence going on to try to find out.
No idea.
He might be in Russia. This is a big possibility that he's in Russia and under the protection of Putin. And he might be in Iran. He's not going to surface. They throw everything at him. he's having those millions of dollars houses in Iran, in England. You know, he's living the life. He's gay. He's wounded. He's disfigured.
Well, I've heard 'em all.
He's a
Yeah.
coward. You know that.
Yeah.
You know, all of that stuff is basically none of it
Just to talk trash.
talk trash. Why? Because they want him to surface. Just come up so you can get him. And again, I don't think even getting him is going to make the system collapse. But he's on the top list of Israel. Israel wants to show that we're not going to let you have a supreme leader.
So what they're doing is basically trying to instill fear on down the line, is to say, if you're the next guy, you're our next guy.
Yes, exactly. And
Don't be the
actually,
next guy.
and they're operating in that perspective. There's a
Yeah.
kid, the son of one of those top leaders, and he continued talking about on different social media, talk about how much fearful he is for his dad, and he wants to. So you find that, but definitely he's not. He's not like, you know, the leaders are ready to die. He's martyrs right now. They're fighting the
what
same
they
way.
say.
Yeah, they say gonna go to heaven and so forth. The other thing that was part of the deal was the Kurds is gonna come in. Basically, like we mentioned earlier,
Come out of Iraq.
Iraq, you have 30 around, you know, big number of millions, 20 millions or something, or maybe 15 million actually.
Of warrior Kurds.
Kurds that they can come in and join forces with the Kurds in Iran, and then they start kind of creating instability afterwards after the
But
regime
there's Kurds in
falls
one more
apart.
country that would be problematic for that.
You know who they are?
Turkey.
Turkey. And Turkey,
Yeah.
Turkey, Erdogan is very good in how to talk to Trump and so forth. So when he started hearing about this, he said he has been, you know, he has actually been sensitized to this for quite some time, because the United States used the Kurds card
Many times.
in Syria, and at that time we're kind of weaponizing them to destabilize Syria. Okay, and who was on the guard of that? Turkey. Okay, so they said not again, and this is going to be a more serious matter, because now you're joining 22 parts of the Kurds in Iraq and to form a country or to form a kind of alliance. This is going to be a real threat to Turkey. This is why he kind of tried to thwart this kind of plan, and this is why it stopped from happening.
So Erdogan didn't go to the Kurds because he doesn't
Yes.
like the Kurds, obviously.
Yes.
He went to the United States and said,
Yes.
we don't want you to continue to try to organize the Kurds in this
Yes.
situation. Because it was interesting, if people were paying attention early on, within the first week, there were reports of the Kurds going across the lines from Iran, or from Iraq. And all of a sudden they said, well, they've called that off. And
Yes.
everyone thought, why would that be? Well, it's because Erdogan of Turkey went to the United States and said, no go.
Yes, because he's afraid of his
They'll take
land,
over. Well,
his country.
he'll have to give up part of his
Yes,
land.
yes,
Yeah.
and this is a big country and a
great.
big part. Yes, and so he did not like that. Even though Trump prepared that early on and tried to stop the Kurdish guy, Shia guy, to run for prime minister in Iraq and so forth, he put executive power. But at the end of the day, it did not happen. So the end result is, you know, those two things did not happen. Now we are in a place where, you know, the system is not falling apart. Kurds is not coming in. This is why we're sending the troops.
So what happens if the regime doesn't collapse? If we can't force a regime change, what's the outcome for the United States?
The United States right now at this point in time try to find an exit ramp, in my opinion, and we try to come as winners. This is why you find the 15 points. Trump announced today that they agreed that they will never have a nuclear weapon. Well, they have been agreed to that multiple times before. So I'm not sure what's the difference. Yeah, they have been beaten up big time. We're gonna try to find something of a victory to hang on it, to come on and see what's happening, in the hopes that as soon as this war will stop, then maybe what we hoped for from the very beginning, that things will calm down, then they start counting their losses, and all of a sudden instability will happen in Iran. The system will fall apart, because right now they are hanging because the war is going on. Maybe after the war they find out the disaster that's going on. You never know what's going to happen next. Okay, I think the United States is trying to end the war. Saudi Arabia, like we mentioned earlier, is not happy because of the things that's going on. Israel is kind of contemplating, says, you know, did we kill enough people that they weakened them or not? Did we destroy? I don't think Israel is satisfied in any shape or form.
They haven't killed the tiger.
They did not kill the tiger.
Doesn't Saudi have an outlet on the Red Sea as well?
Yes, they do.
So
on the Red Sea,
yeah,
other
so
side.
they're not as dependent I mean, the pipe can only be so big, obviously.
Yes and no, the pipes, yes.
Yeah.
So Saudi Arabia, even though it has Jeddah, which is in the other side, and this is part of how Islam actually spread, but the oil is on the Gulf. Most of the oil,
you have to pump it all the way across the country,
you have to
which
pump
also
it.
increases cost.
And still is not enough. And the problem with oil, you have to keep in mind that we are in a serious energy catastrophe right now. Why? Because I want people to understand this. Some of the oil, like right now, for example, Qatar is not doing the liquefied gas as they did. You have to keep understanding, it's similar to the refrigerator. To make the gas liquid takes a lot of cooling of the pipe of the system.
Requires energy.
Of the system to be very cold, up to 140 degrees below, so they can be able to liquefy the gas. As soon as you stop, it takes 2 to 3 weeks for that system to start again.
Okay.
You talk about 2 and 3 weeks of no energy production. Okay. The other thing is some of the oil production in the Gulf, whether in Emirates or Kuwait or Saudi Arabia, they are pumping oil out of the ground. But if they cannot,
take it anywhere,
they have to shut down the production, and it takes time for those kind of wells to reproduce. It's not like finding a new well, but it's going to take some time. Another week. 2 weeks, it depends.
You don't just hit a light switch.
It's not. It's not boom like get oil.
Yeah.
And then the biggest problem is actually right now is some of the oil fields are very old that they might actually stop producing at all.
Yeah, the Saudis are full of unproven reserves. I mean, that's the problem with Saudi Arabia is that they talk about their oil, but they don't. No one really knows besides the Saudis what they actually have.
Yeah, so it's keep giving. But as soon as they shut the production, the well might stop.
You break the suction,
suction, it might not even bring anymore. And that's a serious talk in the oil industry right now about how long is gonna, even if the war ended today, how long for Qatar gas will be liquefied? How long for all of those oil gonna be? Can we sustain 20 days or 30 days or 30 weeks or what kind of a dip is gonna happen?
Well, but those are truly practical, real things. However, like we talked about in a previous episode, maybe the bigger issue in that is that consumer financial sentiment will immediately turn, even if it takes 2 weeks, even if it takes 30 days to ramp back up. The markets will respond saying, at least we're starting in that direction. So that's a positive, even if they say, well, it's going to take us 2 weeks, it's going to take us 30 days. People still won't have the LNG and we won't be putting out, however many millions of barrels a day. But at least if we could turn that around, because just like the market drops on sentiment and emotion, the market would also spike under that same type of thinking.
One of the big things that is going to be a win for the United States is all about China. Is that the Chinese will never have access to the oil, the free oil from Iran. And this is why we are sending soldiers. And this is why we're going to try to not open the Strait of Hormuz mostly, but actually to the island where most of the oil comes out of Iran is coming from that island. And hoping to stop that so the Chinese will be forced to stop supporting the Iranian regime, or we stop the oil production. This is why this island, the Kharg Island, I don't know how to
pronounce Kharg, Kharg Island?
Kharg, I can say Kharg, you can't, That island is where all the oil production comes from Iran, all over the coast. They come in, and this is where
it's put on ships.
This is where put on ships. This is where it is kind of processed. So if we control that, means in that we're gonna shut the production of oil to China.
Yeah.
This is a big win for us,
and
whether the regime stays or not.
This is really
so if we actually end up negotiating, and we end up keeping everything, Israel's not going to be very happy because for them, regime is gone is the only thing. Chaos in Iran. For the United States, stop China access to Iranian oil, because this is two places, Venezuela and Iran. If we stop oil kind of flow into China, free oil or energy,
sets China back a long way.
Big time. It's going to be putting them on the same level and start competing in a more fair way, and they will
crack. They don't have to compete fair.
They don't.
So maybe when we talk about negotiations, and I'm sure that this is probably what the administration is doing, when we're sending the 82nd Airborne and the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, the idea with negotiations might be take the island first, then negotiate from a position of strength.
I think so. I think that might be the case. If trying to make Israel happy by, hey, we got the uranium. No, we get the uranium. So don't worry about nuclear weapons. There is 500 to 800 kilos of uranium, enriched uranium. We got it. If we said we got it, or if we stop the oil production, then this is two good points. Everybody's happy and we move on. How it's going to happen next? It's up for grabs. So you never know.
We'll talk about that in the future. So this has been an enlightening, different perspective. Man, every time it's a different perspective. It's crazy on the Different Perspective podcast, and we give
different perspective.
Yeah. I don't know how that happens. Anyway, thank you guys for being with us for another episode. Again, smash, crash, push the subscribe button right underneath the screen that you're looking at. And we enjoy having you here. And as Dr. Mark Christian said last time, leave comments. We'd love to hear feedback. If you have questions about anything, we'd love to field some questions.
And if you don't like it, we like your comments anyway, good or bad.
You might.
Yeah, you don't, right?
I'm very sensitive to that kind of thing. So if you want to leave bad comments about him, that's great. You can think ill of me, just don't say it, and we'll be okay.